Namaskaraha. Welcome to all of you to our Yogic Life class. So let's do a brief recap before we proceed further. So what we said that was that human beings have an infinite desire. So all human beings have a universal experience of being thrilled by things which are big. So even though those things are not big, but they momentarily give us the feeling of being infinite. They awaken a feeling inside us. So there is inside every one of us this hunger for the infinite, right? We may not be aware that we have this hunger, but all human beings have the thirst for the infinite. So yoga was developed around this. Science was developed around this, called as yoga. So we said that to understand yoga, we need to understand what a human being is. So we talked whether human beings are in the animal kingdom or not, right? And this is a question that has been widely talked about and discussed from in all spheres of life. And all living beings essentially seek happiness. Every living being seeks happiness, whether it is one-celled organism, plant, or animals. For animals, their desires are limited, and it is characterized by four qualities, that is ahara, nidra, bhayam, and maithunam. So once these qualities are satisfied, then they don't have anything further in this world. So if they have a safe place, then they would just go to sleep. But when we look at the human beings, even after meeting all the physical desires, we're not these physical objects do not satisfy our desires. It does not quench our desires. So whatever the sphere of life may be involved, we go on endlessly, to further our name, our fame, money, proficiency in any area, be it business, academics, politics, art, or any areas. Our efforts just go on endlessly. So we said that there is a qualitative difference between animals and humans, and between animals and plants, and not just a quantitative difference. So also we said that in yoga there's distinguishing characteristics between different categories. Whatever the unique characteristic is called as the dharma. So the dharma of fire is to burn, the dharma of water is to make things wet. So similarly, the dharma of human beings is to seek the infinite. That is the unique characteristics of human beings. So we also talked about that how the intelligence cannot be the basis of distinguishing humans from animals, because it is just a quantitative difference. It is based on the degree of intelligence that is there between different categories. So that is not a satisfactory response, because even within the animal kingdom, the monkeys are more intelligent than the mouse. If that is the case, then why can't we put the humans in the animal kingdom? That kind of a question will arise. So we said that the qualitative difference that distinguishes humans from animals is the desire for the infinite. So okay, so that is what we said is as the qualitative difference as dharma. So the dharma of animals, we said, was the dharma of animals is food, sleep, and procreation, whereas the dharma of human beings, the asadharana dharma of human beings, is the desire for the infinite. So we talked so much, and then also last class we also started to talk about free will, how every okay, we also talked about free will. So we said that so we said humans have unique dharma which distinguishes them from all animals, but there is something there's more about this difference which is unique to human beings, and which is not there in other living beings. That is, we have the option of following our dharma. We have the option that we can either follow our dharma or not. So that swecha is there for human beings, and that swecha is not there for animals. Like for instance, a cow cannot act like a horse or an elephant. A cow has no option, but it has to act like a cow. Similarly, a goat has to act like a goat. A rock has to act like a rock. A fire has to act like fire. They have no option. The animals and other beings do not have an option. They have to act according to their dharma, whatever dharma be it. But for human beings, we have an upadharma, which is called as the free will. That is called as the swatantra ichha. So human beings have the option of choosing what they want to do in this life, right? Human beings have the animal dharma and also the human dharma. The human dharma is the desire to seek the infinite. Animal dharma is the ahara, nidra, bhayam and maitunam. So we have both those dharmas inside us. So, and also we have the choice whether we want to keep following the animal dharma and going after the finite things of the world, or we want to seek the infinite. So we have that powerful option that we can choose between those two dharmas. So that is a unique quality, that is the upadharma, which is there in human beings but not there in other beings. And also we further said that that we are not aware what the human dharma is. Most people, 99.9% of the people, do not know what the human dharma is, and as a result, what happens is that they consciously, unconsciously, they just go on following the animal dharma. So that is what happens, is that people are not aware of the human dharma, so they go on following the animal dharma. So we talked about that as well, that we have the swatantra ichha, the free will, which is not there in other beings. It is only unique to human beings. So, and also we said that human beings have evolved from animals. Therefore we have both the dharma, the human dharma and animal dharma. The animal dharma is the familiar dharma. The reason why it is familiar dharma is because we have taken several births. We have taken janma after janma, and in every one of those janma we have been following the animal dharma. That is why we have got again rebirth, right? If we had not followed the animal dharma, we had followed the human dharma, then we would not have got the rebirth. So all of us have got a rebirth. So that means that we have followed the human beings have followed the animal dharma. That is why we have got got rebirth. So the animal dharma is like a known dharma, is a known path. So it is a mentality of people to always follow the familiar things. People don't like change. So whatever is familiar to us, that's what we want to adopt. So the animal dharma is a familiar dharma. So by default, what we do is we start following the animal dharma. So animal dharma means going after finite things, ahara, nidra, bhayam, maitunam, and we can extend that to all the physical objects of the world, because all the physical objects of the world are also finite things, because they have a starting point and they have an ending point. So all the objects of the world are finite things. So when we go after all these objects of the world, then that is, we are essentially following the animal dharma. So because of following the animal dharma, then what happens is that we become human beings on the outside. By looking at the form, we look like human beings, but inside we have the pashu dharma, we have the animal dharma. So most people do not realize this. They do not realize that they have they are following the animal dharma. They don't realize that they have the human dharma. So what happens is that actually there is a war going on inside each of us, and we do not realize that. We do not realize we have a human dharma. So then what happens is that it's just like a baby. It is like a baby which is trying to when it is hungry, a small baby, when it is hungry, it tries to it doesn't know why it is crying. It is hungry, it doesn't realize that it's hungry, so it just starts crying. And then what it does is that it just puts its thumb in the mouth. It puts its thumb in the mouth, thinking that the thumb is going to solve the hunger. But then within a few minutes, it just realizes that it's still hungry, and it continues to cry. So the thumb is not going to solve its problem. In the same way, human beings have an infinite desire, and they do not understand that fact. Majority of them do not know. Majority of the human beings do not know that we have the desire for the infinite. So then what happens is that, so similar to the baby which is trying to put its thumb in the mouth to satisfy the hunger, so similarly what we do is we go after the finite things of the world, whether it be money or any material object, like dress or clothes or shoes or anything for the objects of the world, jewelry or any object of the world. We just go after it, thinking that those objects will satisfy our infinite desire. So then what happens is that we just go on and on and on, accumulating more and more and more and more stuff, in this materialistic world, what happens is that we just we are also misguided by the world. So we go on trying to accumulate more and more and more, without realizing that it is not going to satisfy our infinite desire. And that is why, in spite of having everything, you might have heard a lot of people say that I have everything in life, I have money, I have this, I have that, but still I'm not feeling satisfied, I'm still feeling something is missing. And the reason for that is, these finite things of the world are not satisfying your infinite desire, and that is why you feel unsatisfied. All your hunger, like the baby's hunger is not satisfied by putting the thumb in the mouth. It does not work. Similarly, the finite things of the world is not satisfying our infinite desire, and therefore we still are left unsatisfied. So what we are trying to say over here is that when we realize that we have when we realize that we have the human dharma, then what happens is that a struggle begins. So when we know we have two dharmas, then we try to take some action to say, okay, I have this desire for the infinite, I need to take some action. And then there is a war that is going on between these two dharmas, the animal dharma and the human dharma. And then the question is, which side, we have to ask which side is going to win. Is the human dharma going to win, or the animal dharma is going to win? So human beings have a free will, we have a choice. Either we can follow the animal dharma because we have evolved from animals, or we can follow the human dharma because that is what is our ultimate goal, and that is the unique dharma of human beings. So we have a choice. So there is a battle which is going on between the animal dharma and human dharma within each of us. And people who do not realize, they just lose by default. They do not get up and engage in this battle. So they just follow the animal dharma, which is the familiar path, because they've been following it through ages. So they try to satisfy their human thirst with finite things. So but the human's infinite desire cannot be satisfied by these finite things. So then we said we will become humans outside, and we will become Pashu inside. So that is what happens to the vast majority of people. So the struggle with which yoga is involved is the struggle to become human beings. So the purpose of yoga is to make us become human beings inside and outside. We are human beings outside, but how can we become human inside? How can we have the manava dharma inside? So that is what yoga is involved with. It's a struggle to become human beings. So starting out as children, when we were young, we only had pashu dharma. If you look at a baby, it only has pashu dharma. It is a human on the outside, but it has the animal dharma. So a new baby, what does it do? It only just eats and it sleeps, eats and sleeps. That's what it does. It's essentially animal dharma. So then gradually, as we become teenagers, the question arises in our mind: who are we? Where have we come from? What do we want to do? What is our goal of life? And gradually, when we realize that, we start trying to become a human on the outside and the inside. So yoga is that which teaches us how to become a human being both inside and outside. So that is what the purpose of yoga is. So we covered till this point last week, right? We covered till this point last week. Now we can proceed further. So this is starting. This is actually the new area. So we already said that what happens in the majority of the cases is that human beings have an infinite desire. They do not understand that they have that desire. So what they are actually seeing, if you look at human beings, what we are actually seeing is, we are seeing this jagat, we are seeing this world, this visible world, we are seeing this paridrishyamanam jagat. So this visible world is indriya grahya. This visible world is indriya grahya. You understand this world through your indriyas, through your your eyes, nose, mouth, ears, and also touch. So you can look at the objects of the world through your eyes. That is how you understand the objects of the world. Like if there is food, you can taste the food through your tongue, and then you can smell you can smell the fragrance from flowers, and then you can hear different stuff from the world good and bad you can hear, and also your touch, you can feel different things using your touch faculty. So this world is very, very familiar to us. We are operating in this world day in and day out. So this world is very close to us. So as a baby who does not understand its hunger and it puts its thumb inside the mouth to relieve itself, human beings do not understand the fact. They do not understand the fact that these finite things are not going to satisfy. These objects of the world that I'm seeing on a daily basis, they are not going to satisfy my infinite desire. So for example, if you take an animal, any animal living in this especially the one that is living in the wildlife, an animal, because that is their natural habitat. So you take any wild animal like a lion or a tiger or an elephant or a goat, any wild animal, you will never find that it is overweight. They do not overeat. They only eat as much as they need, as much as their hunger is satisfied. Only to that much extent they eat as much as needed to maintain their health. So wild animals will always be in proper weight, and they will eat as much as needed to maintain that weight properly. So that is what we generally find. The reason is that they have finite desire. Animals have the pashu dharma, they have the finite desires, which is the ahara, nidra, bhayam and maitunam. Ahara is a need for food, and nidra is actually sleep, and bhayam is to have a safe environment and not to be attacked by other animals. And maituna means procreation. So those are the four pashu dharmas, and those are the dharmas that animals actually follow. So and these are all the finite desires. They're not infinite desire, they're all finite desire. So the animals, they're not so intelligent, they're just driven by their inborn instincts. They don't have the intelligence that human beings have, but they are driven by their inborn instincts, which we call as the sahajat vritti. They're driven by the sahajat vritti. So what they do is that they move ahead. When their stomach is filled, then their desires are all over, their desires are finished. They don't have any desire to eat further after that. That's why you see that the animals in the wild, they're not fat, they don't gain too much of weight. But we know, whereas we see the humans, we have an infinite desire rather than a finite one, and we try to satisfy that with finite things. So we go on accumulating more and more than what we need. So animals never take more than what they need in any area of life. They don't sleep more than what they need. They don't eat more than what they need. So that is their basic nature. So animals are not lazy. They do according to what their inborn instincts, how their inborn instincts guide them. They sleep according to what they need. They eat according to what they actually need. But you see, look at the human beings, we overeat. So even when we are not hungry, we eat. Sometimes when we are eating, we overeat. Even when we have got enough nutrition from the food, as much as needed for the body, even then we just go on overeating more than what we need. So the only reason for that, why do we overeat? The only reason for that is that we have an infinite desire, and we are trying to satisfy that infinite desire through food. That's why we eat more. This leads us to take more food than what actually our body needs, because it is only for the body that we are eating, right? So the body needs food. So now the body is satisfied. If the body has got all the nutrition that it needs, then what is the point of going on eating more than that? But even then, human beings, they just go on eating more because they are trying to satisfy their infinite desire through food. So just like that, just like in the area of food, it applies to every area, every sphere of life. We overeat, we collect more money than we need, we buy more clothes than we need, we buy more shoes than we need, we buy more jewelry than we need. So any area of life, be it, we do more than what is needed. We go on over accumulating in every sphere of life in an attempt to satisfy this infinite desire, and which we do not understand. We do not understand that we have the infinite desire, and we also do not understand that these finite things is not going to satisfy the infinite desire. So without realizing that we go running after the finite things. So this is the case. This is what happens in the 99% of the cases. 99% of the people, this is how they behave. This is how they behave. So over here, let's pause for a minute and see how we are understanding. So Pushpa Bhagini, Pushpalata Bhagini, do you want to summarize what we said over here?
Bhagini, namaskaraha.
Namaskara Bhagini.
That is, people are unaware of their human dharma. So what they do is, though they have an infinite desire and they can go understand it, they don't try to do it. They only fulfill their infinite desire using the finite things like food and water. For example, if you see the animals or they follow their dharma correctly, whereas though we have both pashu dharma and human dharma, most of the humans, unaware of what they are doing, they only follow the pashu dharma, like going to the infinite only with the finite things like food, money and other desires, which is not going to be of any help to us. For example, an animal will take that quantity of food and not more, and so they will not gain weight, and so they have no desire to eat more than what they really require. They will sleep correctly to this one. They'll find a safe place and they will take care of themselves, and they will never gain weight or do anything, whereas human beings do everything over and above. That is, they collect money over and above them, they collect clothes over and above them, they eat over and above them and become obese. Almost 99% of the people are unaware and they keep on doing this. So we'll have to find a way to overcome this desire and use the infinite ways to overcome the desires, to find out the infinite desire finally.
Yes. Very nicely said, Bhagini. Very nice. So that is what human beings do not realize, that they have an infinite desire. They are trying to satisfy that infinite desire with the finite things. So therefore, they remain unsatisfied. They're never going to get ultimate satisfaction, because they're trying to use finite things and trying to solve that with solve the infinite desire. So that is what happens in 99.9% of the cases. We do not engage in this battle. Yoga is something that helps us to lead a human life. It helps us to understand that these finite things are not going to satisfy the infinite desire. How do we seek the infinite? How do we attain the infinite? How do we get the union with the infinite, is what yoga helps us to understand. So moving further, so some people understand in a very, very small percentage of cases, like less than 1% of the cases, people understand that they have this ananteshana, they have this infinite desire. So, and they slowly realize that the infinite desire cannot be satisfied by these finite things. So when they get that realization, when they have that realization, then what happens is that slowly their nature changes, their basic nature changes. So they come to understand that this food that we have is only for satisfying the hunger. It is just a indhanam for the body. It is just a fuel for the body, and just by overeating, I am not going to satisfy the infinite desire. It will be just a misuse of food. It will be a misuse of the food, trying to satisfy the infinite desire that we have within us through food. So food is by nature is a finite thing, right? You can measure the amount of food that we have in this world. So food is a finite thing. So the finite things cannot satisfy the infinite desire. So then when they realize, what happens is that they do not over accumulate money, or they do not overeat. They do not run after name, fame, power, prestige. They realize that none of these things can satisfy our infinite desire. Then they start to they start to engage in the struggle. They start to do actually the battle between the pashu dharma and manava dharma, when they understand, when some people understand that they have this human dharma. So people whose eyes have been opened, their lives actually change dramatically. Those people who are engaged in this yoganishta jivanam are the ones that they realize that we have an infinite desire. So they actually do the cheshta, they take action. When you realize you have an infinite desire, you start taking action. So it is not just listening to something and then moving on, it is actually taking action. It is very, very practical science, yoga. So then what happens is that when your inner eyes are open, then their lives change dramatically. Then they don't start running after the finite things. They don't over accumulate money, they don't overeat, nor they don't think about name, fame, power, prestige, money. They don't realize that any of these things can satisfy them. So they do not live in this illusion that that all these finite things are going to satisfy them. It is not that they are going to completely ignore the finite things. They do realize that some of these finite things are essential to maintain the body. So just by saying that finite things cannot satisfy the infinite desire doesn't mean that I'm completely going to ignore the finite things. So it means that in order to have my body, in order to continue my existence, I need food, clothing, medicine, education. I need all of those things. Yogi realizes that he's not completely saying that you have to ignore all the finite things. He's saying that the finite things are not going to satisfy my infinite desire, but that does not mean I'm completely going to ignore all of them. It is only coming to the realization that these are all finite things and my desire is infinite. So I cannot be running after these things, but to maintain my existence I still need all of these things. I do need food, I do need clothing, I do need all those basic things, but he understands the value of those things. So that is why it is a very, very beautiful idea that the yogis have understood several thousand years ago. So the entire science of yoga is directed towards making human beings live a true human life rather than the pashu life, rather than leading an animal life. So how can we become human beings inside and outside? That is the goal of yoga. Yoga helps us to realize that and understand how we can become human beings inside and outside. So okay, so far the two slides that we talked about, that some people's eyes are opened and what they do when their eyes are opened. So can Sharada Bhagni summarize that? Sharada Bhagni? Okay, then Priya Bhagni, do you want to summarize?
Uh, I'll try, Bhagini.
Yeah, please.
So when human beings understand that why that the animal nature that exists within them, when they try to overcome it, so they understand that they have to have a limitation on their food, on their needs, or on the things that they accumulate. And the yogis of long ago have understood this, that things can have the that the human nature has to come. The human nature is the human dharma is much more than this, just the animal dharma, and that so the yogis don't the yogis don't gather things, they don't accumulate money, they do not overeat. They and also understand that these things that which normal people assume that is good for them is not necessarily what is important in life. It's not necessarily, it is definitely not important in life, like prestige in life, or fame in life, or money in life. And so they apply the significant changes that are required to change their lives and imbibe the yogic qualities.
Nicely said, Bhagni. Yeah, so it is only very, very, very less percentage of people engage in this yogic life. When your inner eyes are opened, you realize that you have the two dharmas, and you engage in this struggle. You engage in this struggle so that you can direct your life in such a way that you become a true human being. You become a true human being both inside and outside. So that is the ultimate goal of yoga, right? It helps human beings to lead a true human life rather than an animal life. Okay, so moving on. So further, so this is a shift, right? This is a shift. So we've been living animal life, and this is a shift from leading an animal life to leading a human life. The shift from being an animal in human form. So when you look at animals, they are animals outside and inside. They outside also they have the animal form, inside also they have the animal form. So initially when you get a human body, we are going to essentially follow the animal dharma, because as soon as we are born, animal dharma is very is still predominant. So within them they have this predominant animal nature, and but externally we are actually in a human form. So we look like humans on the outside, but we act like animals. So they abuse the animal dharma within them, because they are not animals, they are human beings, but they still try to satisfy themselves through animal behaviors, because that is what they've been doing through ages, janma after janma. They've been following the animal dharma. So they're doing the jnata dharma, which is the known path, right? Following the known path is always easier than following the unknown path. So what they're doing is that they are doing the known thing, but that known thing is no longer going to work. So when your inner eyes open, that known thing doesn't work anymore, because if you look at the lions, tigers, and animals in the forest, for them the animal dharma is working fine. For them there is no issue. But for human beings, this animal dharma is not going to work. When your inner eyes open, we realize that this animal dharma is not going to work, and living as a human being outside and living as an animal inside is not going to work. So they realize the problem. So people realize the problem in your inner eyes, your antashchakshuhu. When it opens, you realize the problem. So yoga is actually teaching us how to become human beings inside and outside. So there is a critical shift, right? There's a critical shift in the way we lead our life. So we said right from the beginning, we've been saying that when we go and look at big things like an ocean or a mountain, or look at the night sky, we feel amazed, we feel bliss. So something within us gets satisfied momentarily. So yoga is that science. That is because when you look at these big things, what happens is that you're coming in contact with your human dharma. So that momentarily that you're coming in contact with the human dharma, and you feel the pleasure, and that is why you feel it, because you have the human dharma. And when you look at big things, even though those things are not infinite, but momentarily you are coming in contact with your human dharma, and you feel thrilled, you feel amazed. So that is why you get that feeling of bliss or ananda when you come in contact with big things. And that realization of the human dharma cannot, like, even though momentarily you realize your human dharma when you look at big things like a mountain or a ocean, that can never be obtained by getting more name, fame, money, power, prestige. By none of that you can get that. You can realize that come in contact with the human dharma by getting the name, money, name, fame, etc. So yoga is a science which allows us to consciously know, not just by going to the ocean or to look at the ocean or going to the mountains. So yoga, it allows us to consciously know that wherever we may be, we don't have to go anywhere outside. Wherever we may be, maybe inside your house, you can enjoy that feeling. You can come in contact with that human dharma within us, so that we don't have to trigger it by something external. We don't have to trigger it by looking at the ocean or mountain. So we can trigger it anytime. So people make long journeys to go and look at the ocean, right? It takes a lot of time and effort. But with yoga, you can just be wherever you are, just within your house or wherever you're located. You can just close your eyes and come in contact with your human dharma. So we are actually going within, and that gives us an experience of ananda, an ongoing experience of ananda, and it is not temporary. So when you look at an ocean or a mountain, you get temporary experience of ananda. But when you close your eyes and do deep meditation, then you're going to give an ongoing experience of ananda. So when you engage in this yogic life, you start experiencing bliss. You do not actually have to go and unite with the jivatma, union of the jivatma with the paramatma. So even just engaging in this path is full of bliss, because you realize what your human dharma is, and then you know how to handle things, how to handle everything in your life, whether it is within your house, within your family, or outside dealing with the external world. You know how to the value of everything in this world, you know how to operate, right? So then it gives you an ongoing experience, and you do not experience this temporary sukham dukkam. You do not, how to handle all of that. So yoga is a science which allows us to engage ourselves every moment of the day in such activities, and also engage ourselves with the in such a way with the external world, and to experience the infinite, the bliss within us. So it basically educates us how to engage ourselves every minute of the day, and how to engage with the external world in such a way that you experience the infinite bliss, you experience ananda. So that is what the goal of yoga is. It allows us to infinitely engage with the infinite, and experience every moment of the day in such a way that you experience the infinite, to get this bliss or ananda. So, and we get that bliss or ananda through sadhana. Sadhana is meditation. Sadhana we call as meditation. Sadhana is another word for meditation. So through sadhana, through meditation, we can experience this bliss. Okay. Okay. So what is the teaching of yoga? Tatra Pushpalata Bhagini, you want to say?
Bhagini, yoga teaches how we can be human beings from inside and outside. It goes beyond the animal dharma and makes us realize the human dharma. Now, when we go to see far away, to see mountains or the sea, we feel a temporary bliss and we feel happy. This can be achieved by doing yoga. The yoga satisfies our infinite desires, and we can enjoy the experience of bliss staying in our own place. Through sadhanas, we can go within ourselves and have a continuous experience of those bliss. This will not be temporary actually. When you come with the but you will get a momentary contact with the human dharma, but even then it can be done from where we are staying itself. Another thing is, the Dance of Yoga allows us to engage and experience every moment of the day. That is, each day you can experience it. You need not go on a special journey or special place or special things to see everything, but it can be done every day and from within ourselves and the place we are staying, and engage ourselves with the world inside and outside, using and we get the experience of ananda, which is not a temporary form, and this is done through meditation actually. So yoga teaches us all these things.
Okay, very nicely said, Bhagini. Yes, that is the idea. So it teaches us how to become human beings inside and outside, how we can engage, how we can change our life, how we can change our life from animal dharma to human dharma, how we can engage every minute of the day, how we can engage ourselves with the world in such a way that we experience the infinite even when we engage with the external world. So generally when we engage with the external world, we always it affects our mind in some way or the other. But when you are engaged in this yogic life, you know how to handle everything, you know how to handle your time, you know how to handle the external world in such a way that you're not impacted by what is happening around you. You're able to experience the bliss. So that does not mean that you are going to ignore the world. So in yoga you do not ignore the world. We'll be seeing that more later on. So we will not ignore the world. For us the world does exist, So we do operate with the world, we do engage, we do make use of every minute of the day engaging in such activities which will elevate us and help us to enjoy this bliss. Okay, so moving on, we said that there is an ongoing struggle between the animal dharma and the human dharma within every human being. So at any given moment, so which one of these dharma is going to become victorious? Which one of these dharma is going to become victorious? Someone may just lose the battle at some time, but ultimately they may become victorious, because when you're in this yogic path, initially there's going to be a lot of struggle because you're not ready for it, so it needs a lot of discipline and training. So then what happens is that slowly, initially you may feel like you're losing the battle, but maybe ultimately you become victorious if you're persistent in this path. So so long as we are losing the battle, then we are actually animals in human form. So we need to realize, when we are engaged in this path and we feel like we are losing the battle, then we need to realize that we are actually following pashu dharma. We need to constantly remind ourselves that we are following pashu dharma. We are pashu inside and human outside. So outside humans, so they look like humans, like everybody else, but inside the dharma is pashu dharma. So we do say, right, sometimes we say that, oh, that person is acting like an animal. We do say that. Why do we say that? Because we do have that pashu dharma within us. So but when your internal eyes, when your eyes open, right, there is a gradual shift which happens. So long as people realize, oh, for so long I was just following the animal dharma, I do not want to do this anymore. That internal realization comes, is like, enough, I don't want to do this anymore. That realization comes, and then there comes a day in their life, in the life of every human being. Actually, a day comes. If it is not in this life, maybe it will be in one of the next lives, right? So definitely a day will come when people will say, enough of the pashu dharma, I don't want to do it anymore. So when I say, I'm not just saying, when we say this, it's not that we're saying only for this particular life, but any ongoing life after life. Ultimately, at some point in this journey, for every human being, their eyes will definitely open. If it's not opening this life, then definitely it open in the next future lives. So at some point in time, human beings are definitely going to say that, they realize that their dharma is to seek the infinite, and they will realize that enough is enough. I do not want to follow this pashu dharma. How was I doing like this for so many years or so many janmas? I don't want to do this anymore. So when that realization comes, then what happens is that their life, it drastically changes. Their life drastically changes for the good, right? So that is what is being expressed in this slide. So Priya Bhagini, do you want to explain this?
Bhagini, I don't put it across as well as you, but
no, you can. I know you do very well, so you don't hesitate.
So we had this constant fight between our human nature and our animal nature. So then every time we give in to the animal nature, actually we are defeating our own purpose as a human being. So every time we do that thing which we know we should not be doing, that at that moment we are losing the battle a little bit. So every time we do that, we should be aware that we are not being humans but being animals. So this is a very important learning that I have taken from just now what you spoke, that in the small little battles when we give in, we are giving in to our animal nature and we are not being a human being. And so that thought that say, no, if I do this, I am becoming an animal, and that will prevent me from giving into that momentary lapse in clear thinking. So but when this animal dharma is defeated, then only we become humans, both inside and outside. Otherwise, we are just humans on the outside, but in the inside, we are only animals. So that is why this constantly keeping an eye on what we do, what we think, how we behave is very important. And this change is gradual, but it is a very important battle to be fought. Thank you for listening.
Very nice, Rotini. Nicely said. Very nice. Yes, it's a gradual change. When the inner eyes are open, then people engage in this yogic life, and there is a gradual change. There is a gradual change for the better, and ultimately we'll definitely become victorious. That is also the thing. Ultimately we'll become victorious if you're consistent and persistent in this path. Then your life just drastically changes. Okay. So far we talked about how we can engage in this yogic life, what yoga is, and how there is a struggle between the animal dharma and the human dharma. We also talked about that how human beings have a svecha. We have the option of following the human dharma or the animal dharma, which the animals or other beings do not have. They don't have any option. Animals, they have to follow their sahajata vritti or their inborn instincts. They do not have any other option. But human beings have the choice, right? We human beings have that choice. So we talked all of that, and now we're just going to slightly switch gears. We're just going to talk about something new, a new concept. We're just going to bring a concept from physics, right? It's just a new subject. It's a new subject, but it is deeply related to what we've been talking so far. So there are two concepts in physics. It's called as the entropy and enthalpy. Entropy means randomness. Entropy means randomness. Enthalpy means energy. So basically randomness and energy, right? Even if you don't want to remember this, the physics concept, we can just say randomness and energy. So everything in this universe, right? Everything in this universe, every object in this universe, their natural tendency is to have high randomness and low energy. High randomness and low energy. This is the tendency for all things in this universe, like maximum entropy and minimum enthalpy. Maximum randomness, minimum energy. So this is the tendency of everything. So let's take an example. So for instance, if you take water, right? Water, its tendency is to always remain at the lowest temperature. It's to remain at lowest temperature, and the tendency of water is always to flow wherever it wants. It is very random. It's not in any particular order. It just flows wherever there is space. It just flows. So it has maximum randomness and minimum energy. So the lowest temperature, it is at lowest temperature. So if you want to boil water, right? If you want to boil water, then we have to put the water in a pot and then put the water on a gas stove, or keep it on like underneath the pot. We need to put some fire, an energy source, right? Then we can bring the water to the boiling state, right? But the natural tendency of water is not to be in boiling state. It will always be cold, right? So we need to introduce some energy. We need to introduce some energy in order to bring the water to boil, right? So we need some external energy source, whether it is electricity or fire or whatnot. So we need some external heat source by which we can bring the water to boil. So then when we bring the water to boil, then we have introduced some energy. We have introduced some energy into the water. Then it will come to the boiling state. Then the energy will increase. Energy will increase. So everything in this world, right? Every object in this world, its tendency is to have maximum randomness and minimum energy. That is the tendency of every object in this world. So if we can actually take some more examples, right, to understand this concept. So if we have a room, right? If we have a room in somebody's house, this is another example. If we have a room in somebody's house, and and if someone comes to the room and he sees that the room is nice and clean, it is nicely organized, then even if you don't see anybody in the house is empty, nobody is in the house, then also we'll realize that somebody has been here and somebody has been doing the housekeeping, somebody has been keeping the house clean and making everything beautiful and beautifully arranged, right? Even we don't see anybody, we just go to an empty house and we look at the house, and we don't see anybody, and we see that the house is clean and nicely organized and beautiful, then automatically we realize that somebody has come here, right? Somebody has come here, somebody has come to this room, and somebody has come here and come and clean the house. We can guess that. But on the other hand, if somebody goes to the same room and they see that there is dust all around, and nothing is in the place where it's supposed to be, it is all placed in different places. There is very random, it's not organized, and no one has tried to keep the room clean. And that will be the natural tendency, right? If you don't do the housekeeping, then the room will become, it will come to that state. It will be disorganized, and it will be full of dust. So that means that nobody has been attending that house, nobody has been attending that room. So somebody needs to put in some energy to keep the room nicely clean and organized. So if you don't see anybody, and if the room is dirty, then you know that nobody has come here to keep the house clean. So if you don't put the things where they're supposed to be, generally speaking, if you don't put the things where they're supposed to be, then gradually everything will become mess, right? So that is the tendency of all the things, is to be random, right? Random and minimum energy. In order to bring some order, then you have to put in some energy. When you put in some energy, only then you can bring in some order, right? So similarly, another example, if you take another example, like for instance, you have a bottle of perfume, right? All the perfume is inside the bottle, and it is like tightly arranged. All the molecules of the perfume are tightly ordered inside that bottle, so that they're tightly ordered so that they can be inside the bottle. So the perfume is inside the bottle. So then what happens is that if you just open the bottle, then the perfume will come out, and it will start spreading all around the room, right? So you don't need to actually use a fan or something to blow the perfume around, but then automatically the perfume will start spreading all around, and the molecules of the perfume will become random, right? It will be randomly organized. It will not be neatly organized, it will just be random, and that will be in the low energy state, which is the natural tendency. Natural tendency of everything is to be highly random and have low energy. So the perfume, when it comes out of the bottle, it will become very random, and it will have low energy. So that is the high entropy and low enthalpy, right? High randomness and low energy. So then if you want to put the perfume inside the bottle, then you have to compact everything, and you have to give it some energy. So it means somebody has to take the effort to put all the perfume inside the bottle. They have to use a mechanism to put all the perfume in the bottle and keep it tightly held inside the bottle. Otherwise it's not going to be inside the bottle. It is just going to spread all around the room. So that will be the state of maximum randomness and minimum energy, just like anything else in this world. Okay, so but if we look at this universe, we find that things are not happening randomly. Nothing is placed randomly. If we look at the solar system, right, like all the planets are all neatly going in their orbit. So they do not go out in different planets' orbit. They just stay in their same orbit. They do not collide against each other. The moon stays where it's supposed to be. The stars stay where they're supposed to be. Everything has a place. In the same way, everything in this universe is highly ordered on the planet Earth itself, right? Everything is perfectly organized. Just like like in the room, we see if it is if the room is nice and clean, then we know that somebody has been there. So in the universe also, it is being very nicely organized. It is very neatly organized, right? So just like in a room which is nice and clean, it is all well ordered and arranged. And in the same way, we can know by looking at the room, even if you don't see anybody, that somebody was there to keep the room nice and clean and arrange it in a beautiful manner. In the same way, when we look at the universe, seeing that it is not in the state of maximum randomness and minimum energy, but it is actually in the reverse state. It is in the state of minimum randomness and maximum energy. That means somebody has been putting in efforts to keep everything organized, right? So then what happens is that then what happens that the universe is actually moving in its own flow in a very, very highly ordered fashion. not in a random fashion. Nothing in this universe is random. Everything is extremely organized, well organized. So by looking at that, we understand that there is some entity which is keeping everything beautifully arranged. Just like when we look at the room, even though we do not see someone, we know someone was working there keeping it beautifully arranged. We understand that this universe has intelligence behind it. That intelligence is the consciousness. It is Paramapurusha. Are you able to hear me? Hello, are you? Okay. So when we look, okay. So when we look at this universe, everything is neatly and beautifully organized, right? There is maximum energy and minimum randomness. So by looking at the universe, we can understand that there is an intelligence behind it, and that intelligence is consciousness. That intelligence is Paramatma. That intelligence is Paramapurusha. That consciousness which is guiding this entire universe, has no beginning and no end. It is Anadi Anant. So when we talk about humans having infinite desire, there is nothing in this visible world which is infinite. Then how are humans supposed to satisfy their infinite desire? Because everything in this world is finite. So then how can we satisfy our infinite desire with these finite things? So behind this universe, there is an entity consciousness which is guiding everything. So behind this universe, there is this Paramapurusha, there is this consciousness, this buddhi, this intelligence which is guiding everything, which is creating everything. It is guiding everything. And just the mere fact that everything is so beautifully organized in this world is the evidence of the buddhi or intelligence or the consciousness which is behind everything. That consciousness is what is infinite. That consciousness is Anant. It is Anadi Anant, Anant Satta, Anadi Anant Satta. It is doesn't have a beginning, doesn't have an end, and it is Anant. That is the only thing which is Anant. Nothing in this universe is Anant except that consciousness, except that Paramatma, the Paramapurusha. That is the only infinite. So far we've been talking about, we have an infinite desire, we've been talking about that. But what is that going to satisfy that infinite desire is this consciousness, this infinite Satta, the Anant Satta. That is the one which is going to satisfy our infinite desire. And everything in this universe except this consciousness, everything else, all the finite objects, they are all finite and they cannot satisfy the infinite desire. Only the consciousness, the intelligence, the buddhi, which keeps everything in this universe in an order, and that is the only thing that can satisfy our infinite desire. So human beings, knowingly or unknowingly, we all want to know and seek and attain that consciousness, that Paramapurusha. That is the goal of life, and that is the essence of yoga. How to seek the infinite, how to attain and realize the infinite. That is the goal of yoga. So now with using the concepts in physics of maximum randomness and minimum energy, we talked about how that there is this consciousness, this infinite entity which can satisfy our infinite desire. So who is going to summarize that? Pushpala Lata Bhagini, do you want to summarize?
No problem. See, now
please.
We have been talking about randomness versus energy. All things in this universe have a tendency towards high randomness and low energy only. So we have to increase for anything. For example, water has a tendency to be at random with a minimum temperature only. Now if we want to boil the water, we use some source of energy, like whether it's through electricity or fire or any means by which the water can be brought to an higher boiling state. And another example we can say is, if we go to a room and almost every house also we can see the house will be arranged only in a random way, whereas to keep it in a neat and beautiful manner. Energy has to be spent. Energy from each and every person in that house should be spent. Or if you see an empty house, somebody should have come and done an house and this housekeeping, and that the energy comes through that way, and so the randomness is being replaced by that, by a neat thing in that place. So energy should be used. This we can see in the universe. The object are placed in a beautiful way. For example, the solar system, the sun is the place in the center with its high energy, and all the planets revolving around the sun are put in their own parts, and they don't go randomly. They follow the discipline actually. So this way, this is done by some param purusha, or this is a sort of consciousness or a sort which is has no end and no beginning and no end, which is the Anant and the Anadi. And yoga is a science which we can attain this consciousness to satisfy the desires, infinite desires.
Again, very nicely said. So this is how we can explain people who do not believe in Paramatma. This is a very nice way of explaining to them that there is this buddhi, or there is this Paramatma, the consciousness, the Chetana, Chaitanyam, which is guiding everything in this universe, which is guiding everything in the universe, including us. So our goal of life is to seek that Chaitanyam, which is Anadi, Anant, which is the only infinite entity that will fulfill all our infinite desires. Everything else in this world, every other object is finite. So the goal of life is to seek that infinite. Yoga is a science that helps us to realize the infinite. So how we realize the infinite following the yogic life is what we'll be talking going forward. Okay, so we will end the class here. Do you guys have any questions, or you want to say anything? Okay, so that is the case, and we will end the class over here. Dhanyavadaha, namaskarah.
Dhanyavadaha Bhagini, namaskarah. And happy Guru Purnima too.
Happy Guru Purnima Bhagini.
Dhanyavadaha Bhagini, dhanyavadaha. To you guys also, happy Guru Purnima. Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavadaha.